Step into the vibrant and eclectic realm of Kenmore Square, a nucleus of Boston's counterculture that pulsates with the rhythms of diverse expressions. This documentary invites you to immerse yourself in the multifaceted tapestry woven by the intertwining threads of music, art, and political activism, creating a unique and dynamic environment for alternative voices to thrive. Embark on a captivating journey with us, as we'll uncover how Kenmore Square has transformed into a sanctuary for dissenting voices and innovative perspectives, becoming a vibrant and enduring hub for those seeking unconventional avenues of expression. As we delve into its history, we aim to understand the infusion of counterculture that has given life to this urban landscape. Together, let's unravel the stories that have molded Kenmore Square into a captivating space where unconventional ideas flourish and subversive expressions find their home. With college kids came rock and roll. Clubs sprang up to serve a youthful audience who wanted to hear loud, danceable music played by their peers. The Rathskeller was joined by clubs such as Where It's At, Storyville, and Psychedelic Supermarket. In the 1970s and 80s, discos moved in, while the Rat became the locus of Boston's punk rock scene. Over the decades, the Cars, the Real Kids, Amy Mann, the Mighty Boss Stones, and the Dropkick Murphys were among those who cut their teeth in the Dive's basement. Yet, urban decline sets in, marked by floods and fights, contributing to the square's seedy yet vibrant reputation. In the 1980s, Boston University becomes a driving force for change, acquiring the old Peerless Building. The university, in collaboration with Barnes and Noble, becomes a catalyst for urban renewal. Kenmore Square undergoes a transformation, closing iconic venues like the Rat in 1997. The dawn of the 21st century brings about major changes. Demolition begins in 2001, making way for the rise of the Hotel Commonwealth in 2003. Streetscape improvements, a new MBTA stop entrance, and a glass and steel canopy reshape the square. Kenmore Square loses none of its vitality, emerging as a new cultural hub. As we proceed through Kenmore Square, we now delve deep into its soul, the vibrant music scene that has echoed through its streets and venues, leaving an indelible mark on the counterculture of Boston. Kenmore Square has long been a stage for musical revolutions, with iconic venues shaping its cultural identity. Let's explore these sonic landscapes that have played a crucial role in the city's counterculture. The Rat, short for the Rathskeller, wasn't just a venue. It was a cultural catalyst. From its opening in the 1970s, the Rat embraced the counterculture spirit, providing a platform for bands that defied convention and sought to push the boundaries of musical expression. The Rat was more than a club. It was a haven for misfits, rebels, and those who craved the raw, unfiltered sounds of the underground. It wasn't about polished performances. It was about the authenticity of the music and the connection between artists and the audience. The dimly lit interior of the Rat witnessed electrifying performances by influential bands, from the gritty punk sounds of The Clash to the experimental tunes of Talking Heads. The Rat became a melting pot of diverse musical styles, defining an era of artistic exploration. From punk to indie, from underground movements to mainstream hits, Kenmore Square embraced diversity in music. Let's listen to a performance from the Real Kids to get a sense of the atmosphere. It wasn't just about the notes. It was a cultural conversation that transcended genres. Now, let's hear from those who made the magic happen. We spoke to the owner of a record store on Commonwealth Avenue called Nuggets. Coincidentally, he's also a Northeastern alumni who was a witness to the era and a part of the Rathskeller. Let's hear some of his thoughts.
The first question is, do you know anything about the Rathskeller and what do you think about the place being demolished?
That's the same question they asked this afternoon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I used to go to the Rat after work all the time for years, and
So
they
you
knocked down the whole block to build the hotel. So
okay? So you used to work on the Rathskeller?
I used to go there to drink.
Okay. So how was the bar?
It was good. They used to pour double tequila shots for me.
Okay. And the second question is, who are some of the influential figure and the movement within the last 70 to 90 about the counterculture in Kenmore Square?
They were asking that too. The counterculture was a 60s thing.
Oh, 60.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was like hippies and drug taking. So in Kenmore Square, there wasn't much counterculture. It was mostly punk rockers going to the Rat.
Okay.
And they had a discotheque across the street. I think it was called Narcissus. So there were a lot of disco people there.
Sisters.
Disco music.
Okay.
Actually, they had Heavy Metal Wednesdays.
Not only that, at the school, we had the pleasure of interviewing 3 punk rockers who played at the Rathskeller in the 1980s and 1990s. Talia Zedek. She was one of the founding members of the punk band Come, and one of the founders of the all-girls band Dangerous Birds. The second former punk rocker and current Northeastern professor is David Herlihy. David has been named Boston's best male vocalist for 3 years and teaches at Northeastern's music department and law school. The third guest is Stona Fitch, now an acclaimed author but formerly of a punk band called Scruffy the Cat, who used to work as a dishwasher and cook at the Rathskeller. Let's hear what questions we ask now.
Can you share some insight into the formation of one of the pioneering all-girl punk bands, and what is the inspired you to start it?
Well, to the band Come,
Yeah.
but that was an all-girl. I was the only girl, but the earlier band, White Women and Dangerous Birds were all women. But so I think when I was first starting to play music, I felt more comfortable playing with other women, maybe than playing with men. We were all kind of coming from the same place, and when I grew up playing music, the boys were always kind of like taking over everything, and so we decided that we were going to do our own thing, and it's going to be all women. Yeah, feeling more comfortable. Yeah, at that time. So I think my first 2 bands were all women, and then after that, I got tired of that, and then I started playing with whoever, mixture. I still play with women sometimes, but I don't think about not so much on purpose. So yeah.
The first question is, so you are working in the music industry and also working in law. So the counterculture of the 1960s had a lasting impact on American society and the culture.
Sure, yes. But not the, well, but it's a hard question. So, but yes, it did, but it got betrayed. There was a betrayal of the counterculture. You had the 60s hippies who were revolting against Vietnam and the powers that be and World War, and then they became the new power structure, and now they're the ones on Wall Street, and they're the ones that are, they're the boomers who are becoming very entrenched. So a lot of it's hard to talk about these things. They're so big, and there's so many people involved in it, but there was an attempt. The 60s tried to change the 50s, and then the 60s changed in the 70s. The 70s became very self-indulgent. You had punk rock, then you have this new effort, post-punk, and then 80s dance music, and then Nirvana, alternative rock. And so whether it lasts, I don't know if it lasts. I think the artistic spirit lasts. The need to express lasts. But I don't think that there's any allegiance to the principles of counterculture. I don't think so. I think people are just trying to hang on for dear life because it's crazier than ever right now.
What is your experience with the complex work of activities related curiosity?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I mean, I definitely retain my role as an outsider. I mean, I feel like I write books that are from a very outside point of view. I think it made me appreciate. I mean, I put music in most of my books, so there's either directly or indirectly musical influences. I pay attention to the way language, the musicality of language. I put a lot of time into my dialogue, because it's sort of like dialogue is like lyrics, so it has to, rhyme ideally, because that would make everybody sound stupid. But you want the lines to work, and so I put a lot of attention to that. That's just the craft part of it. I think also the spirit of doing it yourself. I mean, I've had to do a lot of things in the publishing and writing of books. So I just said, okay, if no one's going to do this, I'll do it. Because when you're in a band back in the day, like we would show up in a city and like staple gun up our posters, walk around to the laundromats, staple up posters, go to colleges, set it all up, and we didn't have anybody doing it for us. There was no big paternal figure like telling us how to do everything. So I still have that. I pass it on. I've got daughters a little bit older than you guys, and I taught them, just sometimes you gotta just do stuff. You can't wait for somebody to do it for you. You gotta just do it. So I think that's stuck with me.
Therefore, what caused the existence of counterculture in Boston? According to recent research, it was a triad of music, art, and political movements, each influencing and reinforcing the others. Between 1968 and the 1980s, Boston emerged as a vibrant hub for counterculture, defined by dynamic expressions in music, art, and political movements. Amid the iconic images of hippies on Boston Common, a rich tapestry unfolded, reflecting social dissatisfaction, cultural revolution, and a global exchange of ideas. Boston's counterculture was a breeding ground for musical innovation. WBCN's shift to all-rock programming revolutionized the airwaves, providing a platform for emerging bands. The city's music scene embraced diverse genres, from folk and jazz to punk and rock. Influential venues like the Boston Tea Party nurtured iconic bands like Aerosmith and The Cars, shaping the sound of the counterculture. This musical dynamism mirrored the era's rebellion against mainstream norms, and contributed to the nationwide impact of Boston's countercultural movement. The counterculture in Boston manifested creatively. In the realm of art, alternative newspapers like Boston Phoenix became platforms for avant-garde artistic expression. The era saw a fusion of traditional and experimental art, reflecting the cultural revolution. Visual artists, inspired by the zeitgeist, explored new forms and styles. The city became a canvas for murals, installations, and performances, capturing the spirit of dissent and imagination that defined the counterculture. Boston's counterculture was intricately intertwined with political activism. Amid social dissatisfaction, protests against the Vietnam War reverberated through the city. Alternative newspapers served as mouthpieces for political dissent, fostering a culture of informed activism. The counterculture's engagement with civil rights movements and anti-establishment sentiments underscored its political significance. It was a time when art and music became powerful tools for expressing political ideologies and challenging the prevailing socio-political landscape. In an immersive journey through the vibrant streets of Kenmore Square, this sociological analysis unravels the rich countercultural tapestry of Boston, intricately influenced by Boston University. The visual exploration opens with a montage seamlessly blending historical and contemporary footage, spotlighting Kenmore Square as a hub of countercultural movements, shaped significantly by the academic institution, from its historical evolution to symbolic interactionism, Marxist resistance, functionalist impact, conflict theory's power dynamics, and intersectionality fostering diverse narratives. The analysis applies diverse sociological lenses. In community sociology, the presence of Boston University significantly shapes Kenmore Square's dynamics. The institution serves as a cultural anchor, enriching the community with diverse perspectives. Demographically, students and faculty contribute to a dynamic mix, fostering traditions and innovations. The institution serves as a cultural anchor, enriching the community with diverse perspectives. Demographically, students and faculty contribute to a dynamic mix, fostering traditions and innovations. The postmodern context unfolds, revealing Kenmore Square a playground for fluid expressions. Influenced by Boston University's academic exploration, it solidifies the square's status not just as a physical space, but as a dynamic countercultural haven where alternative voices, nurtured by the academic community, continue to shape and redefine Boston's socio-cultural narrative. The academic institution remains an integral part of this ever-evolving tapestry, leaving an indelible mark on the city's countercultural landscape. This section will begin with the history of political movements that have called Kenmore Square home. From anti-war protests to civil rights demonstrations, these streets echo the voices of those who sought change. For instance, in the 1960s, Kenmore Square became a hub for anti-Vietnam War protests, drawing impassioned crowds who sought to challenge the status quo. Within the confines of Kenmore Square, political movements took root, becoming catalysts for change. An exemplary chapter in this transformative journey is the Boston Women's Liberation Movement in the 1970s. This movement found its beating heart right here in Kenmore Square, where activists convened at iconic locations like the Rathskeller or the Rat. This legendary venue became a nucleus for impassioned discussions, fostering an atmosphere of empowerment and advocacy for women's rights. Yet, the impact of these movements extended beyond politics, seeping into the counterculture scene. Art, music, and unconventional lifestyles became intertwined. With the spirit of activism, Kenmore Square hosted the punk rock movement in the late 1970s, where iconic venues like the Rat became breeding grounds for a rebellious counterculture that challenged societal norms. In the heart of Kenmore Square, the intersection of counterculture and activism finds vivid expression in the LGBTQ+ rights movement, notably Jacques Cabaret, Boston's oldest surviving LGBT establishment, served as the epicenter of the 1971 Gay Pride March. Here, protesters articulated demands ranging from inclusivity for women to sanitary conditions, marking a pivotal moment in the fight for LGBTQ+ rights. Today, Jacques Cabaret stands as a symbol of resilience and equality, echoing the enduring impact of Kenmore Square's counterculture movement on the ongoing narrative of inclusivity and acceptance.